Good evening. When you think of Texas, images of cowboys and a booming economy often come to mind. But tonight, we're uncovering a starkly different reality behind the Lone Star State's gleaming facade. It's a state often celebrated as an economic powerhouse. New data from WalletHub has even named Texas the best state in the nation to start a business. It's the second largest contributor to the United States GDP, accounting for 9% of the total, and is seen as a haven for workers and job seekers, home to corporate giants like Tesla, Amazon, and HP. The financial appeal is clear. Residents are safe from personal income tax, with the state relying instead on property and corporate taxes. Add to that a world-famous culinary scene, a unique blend of Texan and Mexican culture, said to be among the best in America. On the surface, living in Texas might seem like the best choice. But tonight, we have a special report that peels back the layers on that dream, revealing a series of disturbing truths. We begin with the state's justice system. While Texas projects an image of tough law and order, the numbers paint a grim picture. We can report tonight that Texas has the highest incarceration rate in the democratic world. The latest figures are staggering: 731 people imprisoned for every 100,000 residents. This figure is the highest for any democracy on the globe, highlighting what critics call an alarming trend. In a single year, around 505,000 different people are arrested and detained in Texas, a rate that has risen significantly over the last 40 years. And it doesn't stop there. A shocking 76% of those held in Texas jails have not been convicted of any crime, meaning they are not necessarily guilty. This crisis is compounded by a justice system critics say is grinding to a halt. The state conducts 20% fewer trials, which results in the exoneration of innocent people being 12% lower than in other states. And deep-seated racial disparities are now coming to light. New data reveals black residents in Texas are incarcerated at a rate 3.3 times higher than white residents. Furthermore, 6 out of 7 major law enforcement agencies also recorded that black and Latino people are searched more often than white people, even though the likelihood of finding drugs and weapons is the same. These justice system failures are just one part of a larger storm brewing in the state. We turn now to the southern border, where the crisis over illegal immigration has put Texas under a national spotlight. Scenes of hundreds of migrants crossing the Texas-Mexico border have become a daily reality, something that is proving difficult to contain. Detention facilities there are already at a breaking point, overwhelmed by the number of people arriving illegally. In response, the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, has issued a controversial new regulation known as SB4. This law has gone viral for what opponents call its reckless approach, causing chaos. SB4 allows for the arrest of people suspected of being immigrants, which can lead to wrongful arrests. Then, the courts are also authorized to carry out forced deportations without any legal violations. SB4 also stipulates that the actions of illegal immigrants can be subject to very severe penalties, ranging from up to 20 years in prison to a fine of $2,000. The law is terrifying for immigrants, but it raises the question, if not this, what else should be done? Moving on from the immigration case, we shift to another matter: the economic inequality that exists. Although Texas is experiencing a booming economy, that income is not being distributed evenly. From the data obtained, it can be seen that the incomes of the lower, middle, and upper classes are vastly different. In fact, since the 1990s, the upper class in Texas has experienced a significant wage increase. The middle class has seen no change in wages at all, and the lower class has actually seen a 10% decrease. This income data becomes even more stark if we look at the average annual salary figures, where the wealthiest earn up to $255,800. The middle class earns up to $53,200, and the lower class earns only $17,900. One of the main causes of this economic inequality is the job sector. The wealthy in Texas are investors and entrepreneurs. The middle class finds employment in the public and private sectors, and the lower class gets worse jobs. In Texas, the middle class is often identified with the term working poor, which shows the difficulty of their lives in current times. The large number of workers classified as working poor is also caused by political activities that always boast about the rise in employment in Texas. However, the jobs that are created are low-income jobs and are not promising. The economic inequality in Texas also leads to various other things. One of the worst is the issue of healthcare. The healthcare problem in Texas is very bad. According to news published in 2017, this region experienced very serious hospital closures. In 4 years, 20 hospitals closed in rural areas like Crockett and Trinity. This fact makes it difficult for rural residents, who tend to have below-average incomes, to access health care. Worse, the state legislature and the U.S. Congress seem to turn a blind eye to the problem of these hospital closures. Besides hospital closures, there are also other problems, such as health insurance ownership. Who would have thought that Texas is the region with the highest number of residents without health insurance in the United States? From the data found, Texas had 17% of its population without health insurance in 2022. This figure has indeed decreased from 2021, when it reached 18%, due to various government assistance programs. But in terms of numbers, 17% of the Texas population is equivalent to 4.9 million people, which of course sounds bad. Moreover, 60% of the uninsured population in Texas are part of the workforce or are of productive age, which causes the economic cycle in Texas to decline further. The closure of hospitals and the number of people without insurance are also accompanied by another problem: complications from pregnancy and childbirth. In 2019, it was known that about 118 mothers died, resulting in 200 children losing their mothers in Texas. The rate of pregnancy and childbirth complications in Texas has also increased rapidly. In 2018, the rate was 58.2%, which was already high, and in 2020, it jumped to 72.7% for every 10,000 pregnancies. These problems in Texas illustrate how the state, which is always depicted as dangerous and full of problems in various forms of pop culture, for example, dangerous locations being identified with the Texas region, is not far from the facts. Especially since firearm and racism issues also exist in Texas, completing all the problems in the region. Hopefully in the future, the problems in Texas can be resolved and its people can live safely.